Hi, Dr. Chandra. Thank you so much for joining us. This really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for taking out some time from your busy schedule and doing this with us. This is such a dreadful situation in which we are in, and हमें आपसे बहुत सारे सवाल पूछने हैं. I know आपके पास हम बहुत कम time है हम सबके पास. Like you have to leave us in a bit, but like I have prepared a set of questions that I wanted to ask you. सबसे पहले तो I want to thank you for that amazing video which has gone viral on
Yes.
Instagram. It's on every WhatsApp group. It's everywhere. And people who are watching this, I would request you, YouTube पे हमने description में वो पहला link डाला होगा. Please go and watch that video by Dr. Chandra. It has almost all the information about the
Yeah.
second wave that you need to have. So, sir, thank you so much for making that video.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could be of help. Unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of wrong information, a lot of chaos going all over the place. People are afraid. And whatever little bits and pieces of information I can let out, if it helps people, I'm glad to do it.
थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक यू सो मच. वहीं से मेरे को आपसे कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछने थे. एक मैं क्वेश्चन से चालू करना चाहता हूँ. मैंने सुबह 3 पोस्ट ऐसी ट्विटर पे देखी हैं कि लोग बता रहे हैं हम घर पे हैं, वी हैवंट स्टेप्ड आउट ऑफ आवर प्लेस इन द लॉन्गेस्ट ऑफ टाइम्स, येट वी आर गेटिंग कोविड एंड पीपल आर थिंकिंग. अभी एक नई जो थ्योरी आ रही है कि इट हैज स्प्रेड इन द एयर, हवा में बहुत ज्यादा स्प्रेड हो रहा है. सो इज दैट ट्रू सर?
G. I'm going to try and keep it a mix of Hindi and English as well. My Hindi is not too good. I'm a Bengali myself, but I'll try my best to also incorporate both languages. Okay, so
Sure.
yes. पहली बात तो ये है कि आपने अगर लैंडसेट का लेटेस्ट एडिशन पढ़ा होगा, लैंडसेट the medical journals that we have here, the Lancet has reported that the COVID virus is now airborne, and this is probably the new mutation. नया mutation जो आया है, that is probably airborne. So chances are that even if you are at home, yes, unfortunately, you may still be susceptible to the virus.
Oh, so that is so scary. Like, what's the fix for that? So people who are at home also now they are not safe. So what can be done to make sure that we don't catch this airborne virus now?
It's crucial to avoid crowds even at home. At this stage there are if you have a large family, if you have helps coming in from outside to inside, जैसे आपके domestic help homemaids हो जो बाहर से अंदर आते हैं, chances are that if anybody is infected and one sneeze inside the house, the entire house will be infected. So I have some very basic protocols. Again, it's not much, but something is better than nothing. Even at home, maintain high levels of sanitation if possible. Along with that, if you have people from outside coming in for any reason whatsoever, आपने खाना मंगाया हो या आपके maid आ रहे हो या फिर आपका कोई भी help आ रहे हो अंदर, always mask yourself up, mask them up as well. They are not safe. Not everybody is safe at this side. Mask everybody up. Of course, sanitation is very, very crucial as well. Sanitization and sanitation both is very, very crucial. And avoid crowding at any point, anywhere in the house. If people are together, try maintaining a bit of social distancing even at home. Okay. And try not venturing out unless it is absolutely crucial. Think of it as a lockdown. हम अभी कर्फ्यू में चल रहे हैं जरूर, but there are people who are going out. Try not going out unless absolutely essential, please.
Got it, sir. So Tayyab, my friend, like इनको भी like he's also trying to like keep up to all the latest जो भी updates हैं. He told me हम अभी एक live stream कर रहे थे कुछ दिन पहले. Correct us if we are wrong because we are also like trying to learn about this.
Yeah.
But Tayyab told me there will come a day when we will get 30 to 40 lakh cases in a day from India. And I was like ऐसा थोड़ी हो सकता. So is that true? ऐसा हो सकता है? And if yes, कितना how worse will it get?
Okay. Now, looking at the current statistics and looking at the way it is peaking, आज शायद इंडिया में 3,14,000 or 3,24,000 cases हुए आज. Yesterday it was 3,14,000. Unfortunately, with everything going on around us, I still see public gatherings in some places. I still see regular life going on in some places. Unfortunately, if these are not stopped, gatherings are not stopped, crowds are not stopped, yes, the number of cases will rise. Now, whether if it will rise to 30 to 40 lakhs a day, I'm not too sure about that. But I'm tentatively expecting a peak within the next 2 weeks or so.
Oh.
And that too only if we curtail down more of our outdoor activities. So not just us, everybody. try maintaining a lockdown as of now. Just don't go out unless absolutely necessary. It may not be as scary, Tayyab, like you say that if it's 30 lakh, 40 lakh, shayad utna kharab shayad na ho. As of
I
now,
was
I don't
only
think
following
so.
the mathematical trend, sir. I could follow
Yes.
the equation.
I
Yeah.
know I follow the trend and I follow statistics as well. It may not be that bad, but however, yes, the peak is probably yet to happen. So give it about another week or two, and then things should settle down after that. And maybe there is a plateau which will fall in like the last time.
The point that you're talking about is already very scary, but I'm still hopeful that it is that and not what I am saying.
Absolutely.
Yes, I also hope so. I also hope
Yeah.
so. And I'll say that I'm cautiously optimistic that look at the number of cases that we're having, 324 a day. The death rate is about 2,240, I think, in the last 24 hours. Now, that by no means is a small number. It definitely is not. And I'm not downplaying anything that is happening in our country. We are facing a catastrophe. We are facing a severe lack of oxygen, etc. But irrespective, compared to the total number of cases, the mortality rate is still in control. Still, I'll be cautiously optimistic. I know, like I said, I'm not downplaying the deaths. Every death counts. It is horrific what is happening out there. But I'll still be cautious that a majority of us are healing. A majority of us healing at home. A majority of us are healing from the hospital as well and going back home. A majority who are entering the ICU are also healing and going back home. It is a small percentage that is getting affected and are unfortunately dying. I don't know if it is the right platform to say it, but some of the deaths probably are because of the lack of oxygen, waiting for beds. Had we had them, maybe the death rate would have been in
Yeah.
control or less.
I want to come to the oxygen wala topic in a bit, but I first want to say, let's say कि अभी peak आती है, then plateau will come. उसके बाद, are we also looking at a third and a fourth wave?
Yes, expect a third wave probably in about, I don't know, maybe a year or so, or maybe lesser than that. You need to know that the virus has mutated. The virus has mutated from the last time to this time.
Yeah.
You can't expect a virus to not mutate any further. There is no guarantee that it will not mutate any further. There will be other forms of this virus coming in, and expect another wave to happen when the virus mutates into something different. This wave has also happened because it seems like the virus has mutated into a more vicious form. I'm hearing of double and triple mutants being discovered in fact, many patients. So and also, I do believe genomic studies are also going on in terms of this new virus. It is obviously different, slightly different from what it was the last time, because firstly, we had somehow reached a plateau of about 20 to 21,000 cases a day around January, February, even early March. There were protests going on then. People were traveling like no other. I mean, I myself have traveled and I've gone out, and I'm guilty of going out as well and enjoying with my friends as well. Nothing was happening then. The cases were still in control. There were days where there was zero deaths in Delhi as well. What happened then? It's not the same virus that can cause this situation. There must have been certain mutations. And that's the reason why the peak is so steep. It has suddenly crossed all limits. So along with that, also the new mutations probably cannot be detected well with the RT-PCRs. I'm getting plenty of patients who are not getting detected with the RT-PCR, but are showing classic symptoms as well as new symptoms.
Sir, the next question is from my dad. Like, he's also a doctor, and like he asked me कि मैं अगर आपसे ये पूछ सकूं तो, because रेमडेसिविर को लेके जो एक बात चल रही है कि WHO कहता है कि उसको लगाने की जरूरत नहीं, एम्स कहता है कि इट्स वेरी इफेक्टिव, इट्स मैंडेटरी, एंड कुछ लोग रेमडेसिविर के बिना ही ठीक हो रहे हैं. सो हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इज दैट वाइल, एंड उसकी कितनी इंपॉर्टेंस है अभी करंट सिनेरियो में?
I know there are multiple conflicting discussions regarding this. Okay, however, the information which I have after reading through different journals and discussing it with my peers, going through the WHO notes, etc., remdesivir has limited importance. It has limited importance, and that too in ventilated patients. It's only in ventilated patients or extremely severe cases that may protect you to an extent. There is no 100% guarantee that remdesivir will save you. Unfortunately, no. There is only limited use of remdesivir, so please stop hoarding it. I'm by no way going against the use of it. There is evidence that it has healed certain patients, and it may work well on certain patients, but it doesn't mean that you have a light cough and you run to the pharmacy to get remdesivir. That's not required. It is only for ventilated patients and severe cases who are hospitalized.
So even if I get my 6 vials, there is no guarantee कि okay, अब तो I'll be safe.
No, there is no guarantee. Unfortunately, what one needs to know that there is still no
Mm.
direct treatment for COVID.
This is very scary. And Tayyib, do you have a question here?
Sir, I have a question like regarding the oxygen thing, right? So we
Right.
we are experiencing a very big shortage in the whole country, I believe. Every city, everywhere, there are
Right.
no oxygen cylinders left, right? So people are helping each other. We've seen that on social media, and you
Mhm.
can get, if possible, you can get free oxygen cylinders from people who are trying to help, right? So I
Mhm.
have this question that people are, starting their treatment in their homes itself, and they are administering oxygen and other things by themselves, right? Because
Mhm.
there is no medical staff available to help you out. So I am concerned about if people don't know how to use this equipment, like for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
let's say the oxygen cylinders and the mask and
yeah,
everything that is connected to that.
yeah,
So can you give me a crash course of like 10 seconds or something more?
yeah.
Like how do I do that? And what are the symptoms that I might have if I am, administering more oxygen than required, or if I'm not using the
Yeah.
equipment correctly? Yeah.
और यहाँ पे
Okay.
सर जो चीज चल रही है होम आईसीयूज की, आर दे इवन पॉसिबल?
Yes. Firstly, I'll just give you a short description in regards to the oxygen cylinder. Now, the thing is, I really need to have an oxygen cylinder to show you how it works. Okay.
Okay.
And there are YouTube videos around as well on how to use the oxygen cylinder at home. So it's not much of a big deal. It's rather simple. It's not too difficult. You will notice attachments for the oxygen cylinder. There will be a valve, there will be a nasal cannula or a face mask or something. So you will notice quite a few of that in there, and it's easy to connect it and it's easy to put it in your nose. There will also be a humidifier, and there will be a knob. There'll basically be an apparatus which will make you identify the level of oxygen and how many liters of oxygen it is that you're using. Now that will vary in terms of your SpO2 level. Once you start the oxygen, let's say for a random patient, the oxygen level without the extra oxygen is about 83, 84. When you start the oxygen, start it on 1 liter. Okay.
Okay.
See how the oxygen level rises. Don't overuse oxygen, please. Just start it with 1 liter. See how the oxygen level rises. If that 1 liter helps you to go to above 93, 94, that's fine. Please continue it. However, if you notice that it is not rising above 90, 91, increase it to 2 liters. And that's how you gradually keep increasing it. There will also be an apparatus which will also identify how much oxygen is left in the cylinder. That is also crucial because when it's almost close to coming, getting empty, when it reaches that red mark, please have another oxygen cylinder ready for your patients. So it's crucial to know when the cylinder will finish. You do not want to finish it in the middle of the night and you do not have another source. So keep looking at that for sure. In response to your question in terms of home ICUs, unfortunately, that's the only solution as of now. There are no hospital beds available. There are no oxygens available. Me being a well-connected doctor in Delhi with plenty of contacts, plenty of patients and hospitals, I can't get a bed for my relative who
Yeah.
right now needs oxygen. And thankfully, I had a backup cylinder ready at my clinic. So I'm helping out my relative with that oxygen. And I've created an ICU setup at home with a nurse and intravenous fluids and medications. And I'm helpless. I can't do much. So at this stage, whatever you have that can help the patient heal at home, go for it. A nurse, a 24/7 nurse would be very helpful. At least somebody who can cannulate a patient. The IV cannulas you put on your veins, something to let fluids through, something to keep the patient hydrated, something to give intravenous antibiotics if needed, as guided by your doctor, and someone to monitor the oxygen as well. That's one of the crucial ways you can continue right now.
बट सर
One
वो
last
चीज
question
खुद
regarding
खुद
the
वो चीज खुद नहीं कर सकते हम, लाइक जो लाइक
No. Please, no,
हाँ,
don't try this
है
at
ना?
home. It has to be in a proper artery. Only a doctor or a trained nurse
Yeah,
can.
yeah,
If you try it on your own, there can be death, there can be clots. It can be a
exactly.
artery. Please don't try that at home.
Sir, coming back to the question of oxygen cylinders, the people who are administering oxygen to themselves or are helping their families out, are they supposed to leave the oxygen on while they're sleeping? I just wanted to know what is the 1 24-hour cycle.
It would depend on the situation of the patient. If you notice that the patient is maintaining the oxygen level to about 92, 93 on his own without oxygen, you may not want to give it continuously, give it intermittently in breaks so that you also save oxygen. However, if for a patient who that his or her oxygen is dropping to below 80, below 70, for them, you will need monitoring. You can't leave the oxygen on throughout the night, monitor for a while, and then give it intermittently if possible. However, if somebody is serious, then please, continuous oxygen would be crucial. And irrespective of that, you need to monitor the patient because sometimes even more oxygen may be needed. So keep the pulse oximeter on as much as possible to check for the oxygen level. Expect occasional dips and falls, even in a regular person like you and me. If I put a pulse oximeter on my finger, there will be times when suddenly the oxygen might be 91, 92, maybe because you've been speaking, you've been jogging, you've climbed a flight of stairs. Don't panic. Please sit down and take deep breaths. Within a few minutes, the oxygen will go up. It will become 93, 94 again. So don't panic.
So my next question is about vaccines. Let's say a person who has just got one dose of vaccine, second dose of for some reason lagni wari hai, how much immunity gets built after a single dose of vaccine?
It's difficult to answer in an exact percentage. How much would be a little difficult to answer. All vaccines, particularly the ones, also the ones that here in India now have an efficacy data and a safety data. Unfortunately, the Indian ones were released too late officially, but now I do believe Covaxin is about 81 to 82% efficacious and Covishield is about 72 to 76% efficacious. So this is after 2 doses. Unfortunately, after 1 dose, the data is not out. However, I can be optimistic again. I mean, I'll only speak facts if I know them. Unfortunately, I don't have the scientific facts, so I cannot comment. But in my personal experience, plus whatever I'm seeing around, at least anybody who's taken a dose of the vaccine is getting slightly lesser signs and symptoms, or the intensity of the signs and symptoms may be a little less as compared to. But yes, they are getting the disease for sure. They're getting infected for sure.
They are getting it, but it won't affect them as much as they would affect a normal person.
Possible that it wouldn't affect them as much, and even better with the second dose. So there is a small percentage. I believe now the government has released certain data saying that it's about just 0.5% of people who've taken the Covaxin and the Covishield shot that have gotten infected with the COVID virus. So maybe to an extent it is reducing the extent of the disease, the intensity of the disease.
Sir, another thing that I want to ask, इसमें research कितनी हो रही है? Like, are we doing enough research about कि लोगों को notice कर रहे हैं कि ये data collect हो रहा है कि these are the number of people who have come to get, like, who are COVID positive, they were इनकी 1 dose लग चुकी है, इनकी 2 dose लग चुकी है. Is someone monitoring the data, and or has the research started? Because I also asked you about the numbers after first vaccine and you said the numbers are not there yet. So are we not doing the research properly?
Well, again, difficult answer, something which the government would be able to answer better. The health ministry would be able to answer better. But I know that there is a COVID task force. I know that the ICMR is doing their research. I know that there are teams out there who are doing their research. But in my humble opinion, maybe some more research is very, very crucial.
Yeah.
We've had an entire year to prepare, haven't we? We had a massive wave. We saw what was happening right at the beginning, and then there was an entire year that passed and everything settled down. When you know that something like this has happened, my humble opinion is we should always be prepared. And at this stage, I don't think we were. I understand that the cases were massive. The number of cases were unprecedented. It's a sharp spike. However, we should have been a bit more prepared and maybe some more research. So this time, a little more money, a little more, investment in health, please, for a country to prosper well. Please, let's just push more money in the healthcare infrastructures.
Seriously.
It would really work. A couple of more hospitals, some more ventilators. After the first wave, I really didn't see much of a change,
Absolutely. So the next question is by Himanshi Wadhwani. She sent this question on Instagram. Can 2 COVID patients live together in the same room?
Technically, yes. If you've been infected, you can both stay together in the same room. There is a lot of information going around saying that, if one has a viral load higher than the other, there can be more of an infection, there can be more of a, spread, and the intensity might spread. I'm not exactly for it. In my views, the fact that when you are infected, your body also starts producing antibodies. Unless you are absolutely asymptomatic and you may have almost no antibodies at all, that's when you have a chance of getting infected from another COVID patient who's around you. However, if both patients are infected and if your CT values are more or less close or it's more or less the symptoms are okay, it's fine. It's fine. At this stage, how much more can you isolate? Irrespective, you will get it, unfortunately. So it is all right if 2 people live together as long as you follow certain protocols.
But if the CT score is very different, let's say someone has 8 and someone is 21, then you wouldn't recommend it?
I'd say follow some protocols. Try not having too many communications, etc. Try following the basic protocols of at least wearing a mask at home and not sharing too many utensils. But at least basic, the basic interactions can happen. CT values, a lot of people ask me questions about CT values as well, like you just did it. Remember, when you get your lab results, the CT value which will be mentioned would be anything between 15 to 30. So remember, the lower the value is, the more infective you are. So if it is 15, it is the most infective. If you're 30, 30 to 35 is almost no infection and it's better.
Okay. Sir, I also want to ask, how are you doing? Like, it's a question which I should have started with, but
Yeah.
are you doing okay? Like, what is your current headspace?
Well, I can say that I have never been this stressed out in my entire lifetime. This is the worst crisis that I have ever experienced, and I've faced a lot. I don't think so. I've slept for over 2 hours or 3 hours on a daily basis for the past few days, and it's understandable because everybody has queries. I try to answer as many as possible, but it is not humanly possible for one doctor to handle it all. So I answer as much as possible. The ones I can't, I can't. But I'm hanging in there. I am always a little optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic. We fought the first wave, so I'm optimistic that we'll fight this too. It'll be a war, but we'll fight this.
This is such a positive note. Taya, please, please, please.
Sir, I have certain questions regarding what you have been doing for the past years, 6 months and all. Like, uh, all of the medical staff is supposed to have had their vaccinations done, right? But we can still see you and the other doctors in full PPE kit and masks and everything. So could you tell us and the other people who will be watching this stream, like, once you've had your vaccine, let's say all the doses that are possible, you're still required to follow all the protocols,
Yeah.
because you can still very easily get infection, right? Yeah, of course, we have found out that the infection rate and the mortality rate would be very less as compared. Arguably, the data is still coming in, but what are you supposed to do after getting the vaccine?
Please do not let your guard down after the vaccine. That's all I can say. Okay.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee. Unfortunately, there is no guarantee that the vaccine will be 100% protective. Okay. Again, there are new strains which have come in, right? Like I said, there is a double mutation, triple mutation. The virus seems to have mutated. Maybe some vaccines are not acting against it. Some vaccine may, I believe Covaxin is actually protecting you against the new variants, but Covishield may not. I'm not 100% sure, but
Oh.
Covishield may not. Apart from that, even if you get your first shot, second shot, please make sure that you continue wearing your masks, continue following social distancing, particularly now. Avoid crowds at all costs. Make sure you're sanitizing your hands well, like we used to do in the past. In the last year, we were very, very careful in sanitizing everything around us, sanitizing fruits, vegetables, everything. Please follow that. For healthcare professionals like me, please make sure you have your PPE kit on. Please make your social distancing. Just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean you let your guard down. I'm hopeful that within a few days, the vaccines will be tweaked. Like the virus changes itself, we also change ourselves. The technology also changes itself. There will be new tweaks in the vaccination, which will eventually form a good vaccine strong enough to fight all variants.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, a vaccine usually takes a long time to make, a long time. The quickest,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, was actually the mumps vaccine. It took about 4 years, 3 to 4 years to perfect, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a long battle, but at least something's going on.
सर यहाँ पे एक क्वेश्चन था मेरा. लेट्स से अगर मेरी पहली वैक्सीन कोविशील्ड की लगी है और मान लो अगर मैं वापस लगवाने जाता हूँ एंड वहाँ पे कह रहे हैं कि कोविशील्ड अवेलेबल नहीं है, देयर इज ओनली कोवैक्सीन, सो कैन आई गेट द सेकंड डोज ऑफ कोवैक्सीन व्हेन आई गॉट माय फर्स्ट डोज ऑफ कोविशील्ड?
It's a common question which is asked to me by everybody. Please do not mix vaccines. If you've taken Covishield, stick to Covishield. If you've taken Covaxin, stick to Covaxin. Your body may react unnecessarily to a mixture of vaccinations. I'll give you a very brief layman description in terms of what these two vaccines are, so you will understand why it is crucial to not mix vaccines. Covishield and Covaxin are two different vaccinations, right? Covishield has been produced by Pune, the Serum Institute of India in Pune, and Covaxin is produced in Bharat Biotech in Hyderabad. Covaxin is actually created by the actual coronavirus by attenuating, making the virus semi-dead, and it is then inserted into your body to get an immune reaction out. When it comes to Covishield actually uses a virus called the adenovirus, which is a virus which causes the common cold in chimpanzees. They are genetically very similar. But however, the immune response they elicit are similar, but both are actually different viruses used in terms of a vaccination. So the immune reaction used by both vaccines is the same. They all try to attack the spike protein, which is the protein which the virus requires to enter the human body. but both are actually different in composition. So ideally, do not mix vaccines, because there are times that mixing of vaccinations may give you side effects. There are sometimes long-term side effects. There is something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. There is transverse myelitis. There could be certain side effects which may come out in the long term, because your body can't understand this mixture of random viruses entering your body. Okay, so do not mix the vaccines. If you get Covishield, please take Covishield. If you've taken Covaxin, please take Covaxin.
So, sir, just a couple of last questions from my end. The next one is around mental health. So there is this thing called doom scrolling, when you are on Twitter and you're just scrolling, and everything is so scary, so sad, and you're just scrolling and it's very doomsday feeling, everything is bad. So a friend called me and he said, hey, I want to help everyone. I want to retweet everything. I want to amplify everything. But my mental health is so bad right now, I don't want to open social media. I couldn't answer to him, but I just kept thinking about that thing they say in the airplanes, दूसरों का mask लगाने से पहले पहले खुद का mask लगाएं. So what would you suggest, like normal people, like how do they take care of their mental health? Because there is so much pressure also to amplify, but there are some people who are just not being able to take care of themselves also. So how do we balance the two things right now?
Firstly, stay off social media as much as possible. Please stay away from WhatsApp forwards. Please stay away from Twitter and any other sources where there is a lot of information on COVID around. Yes, there are some right informations going around. There are right messages going around, but the majority of the messages are absolutely scary. Don't listen to it. I have people constantly calling me asking random questions that, should I just start taking ivermectin? Should I keep swallowing hydroxychloroquine? Should I keep taking FabiFlu even if I don't have COVID? What is the role of steam inhalation? What is this? What is that? No. Calm down. There is eventually no direct treatment for COVID, right? So whatever happens, if it has to happen, you will get it. When you get it, there are doctors around. Speak to them, book a consultation with them. They will guide you through what needs to be done. Not everybody is getting it, and everybody who is getting it, not everybody is dying. All right. If you notice, just like I discussed before, there is a huge population in our country. Look at the number of cases that we are getting every day, 3 lakh something cases. But are 3 lakh people hospitalized? Are 3 lakh people dying? No. Look at the recovery rate as well. Yes, it is sad that there are deaths happening at this stage because our healthcare infrastructure, unfortunately, is not strong at all at this stage. It's almost on the verge of collapsing. But look at the majority of patients. Out of that 3 lakh, almost 2 lakh something is getting better. A few of them are being hospitalized, but they are also getting better. And the small portion is going to the ICU. So that's when the drama starts. However, let's focus on the majority. So try cleansing your mind out. Don't focus too much on social media. Don't focus too much on what people are saying, what medicines you should take, what medicines you should not take. Everybody's a Google doctor these days. Try not listening to them. Okay. You have your own intuition to follow, and then you have your own doctors to follow who have studied very hard to be here to guide you to what's happening. Right. Please follow them. I'm pretty sure everyone has that one random uncle in a WhatsApp group who says, ye hai, and this will save you from COVID. Or ye to abhi shuru kar do. Okay, please, Uncle Ji, sit down. Let the doctors do their job. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, this is such an important point.
I have a question. Yeah, I have a question regarding the vaccine. Like, there are people with complications, right? Let's say there's somebody who is HLA-B27 positive and has some autoimmune complication. How are they supposed to have the vaccine? Yeah, if they are infected with this virus, what is the different procedure that will going on, or it will be the same treatment?
It's the same. The treatment will mostly be the same. When it comes to the vaccination that you ask, I'd suggest first have a word with your physician. Whoever is your family physician, your general physician, I have a word with them. They will know your detailed medical history. There are certain people in whom the vaccination is best to be avoided, or probably they have blood values which will lead them to avoid the vaccination. For example, I can take a random example of a patient X that I have. This patient has been on blood thinners and he's had an issue with his blood for a long time. So when he came in asking me if I can take the vaccination, I did a few tests for him, including PT-INR, including his platelet count, and including his bleeding clotting factors and a D-dimer. His INR value came out to be very high. INR in simple terms is internationalized normal ratio. It's basically a value to show whether your clotting is normal, whether your bleeding and clotting mechanism is normal. When I see that the value is extremely high, his was above 3. we decided to ask him not to go for the vaccination as of now, because there are certain reports coming in of clots. However, we'll wait and watch for, let's say, if there is another vaccination coming in which has less effects of clot or less reports of clotting, he can go ahead and take that one. See, all vaccines will have certain side effects. There is no vaccine absolutely with 100% zero side effects. So there is a small risk. The best way you can go ahead with it is to have a consultation with your doctor, clear out the doubts, check for blood values, and then go. So that you've done your homework from yourself, right? And then you're absolutely clear that I've done it all. And iske baad, if there is a side effect, unfortunately, that's God's gift. None of us can help it, you know.
So these were the questions from our end. Before going, like, is there anything that we might have missed, but you want to tell the people who are watching it, or the government, or anyone who is listening? What are the things we can take care of? Any last parting words, sir?
All right, I'll keep it simple, I guess. I mean, I hope if my word reaches out there, then I can say that firstly, it's crucial to not panic. It's crucial. Not everybody is getting COVID. Not everybody who's gotten COVID is going to a hospital or having severe infections. That's number one. So only go to the hospital or only seek hospitalization when your oxygen levels are below 92, 91 for a couple of hours, irrespective of deep breaths, or if your fever is extremely high, 102, 103 degree Fahrenheit, corresponding to about 39 degrees centigrade, for a couple of days, for about 2 to 3 days, irrespective of paracetamol. If it comes down to normal and then goes high, take a paracetamol and then bring it down again. That's also normal. Now, if you do see that there is a situation where, yes, there is a breathing difficulty or there is a very high-grade fever for a few days, that's when you go to the hospital. Similarly, for CT scans, I noticed that every patient who's testing positive for the RT-PCR is running for a CT scan. CT scan is not a diagnostic tool. It is just a tool to see how bad the effect of the COVID virus is in your system. Now, when you have moderate to mild symptoms for COVID, fever, body aches, etc., there will be chances of patches in your lungs, which will mostly resolve on its own in the future. If you have a look at these patches as a layman, you'll freak out. You'll think that I have pneumonia and I'm dying, my lungs are failing. No. Only if the patches are extreme, that's when you need to go to the hospital for oxygen and medications. Now, how will you know that you have extreme patches in your lungs? Mostly because you will have symptoms. If you have severe breathlessness, if you have severe cough, wheeze, etc., that's when you need to know that, okay, let's get a CT scan done. Also, you all need to know that if there is a fall in the saturation of oxygen below 90, 91, that's when you get a CT scan done. Don't rush to get a CT scan done, because also going to crowded places, going to a lab, going to wherever the scans and reports and the RT-PCRs are happening, you will form a crowd. It'll be more of an infected stage for everybody. So hang in there. Don't rush for this. A majority of this can be treated at home. Get in touch with your doctor. Get in touch with your doctor who can guide you through. I know doctors are overly stressed out right now, but try sending in a message to them saying that, doctor, whenever you get the time, I'm next in line. Please call me back so that you can guide me through what's happening. This is for our regular folks out here. Remember, majority of this can be treated at home. Symptomatic treatment, antibiotics, oral anti-inflammatories, it's all easily treatable cough syrup. To the government, well, you've seen what's happening, right? I mean, we are a fantastic country with so much to do, so much to see. I'm a proud Indian who's probably has visited every city, explored every city in India, and I've loved every bit of it. The thing is, a country like ours cannot survive with healthcare in shambles like this. Please, if you are looking at this, if you are in the opposition, if you are in the central government, whoever you are our leaders, right? The least I can beg you to do is please invest more in our healthcare infrastructure, more hospitals, more doctors, more nurses, more paramedical staff, more medications. Please invest more in healthcare. I think this is the second warning for us. We already faced one a year ago, and this is another crisis. We don't have oxygen, we don't have doctors, we don't have medications. Please take this as a lesson and start focusing more on this. That's all I can beg of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this. This was a very important thing that you just said. And we will also take care of all the pointers that you mentioned. And we would also advise people not to panic and just take it like one day at a time. And thank you so much, Dr. Chandra, for joining us. Thank you so much. This means a lot, and I don't want to take much more of your time, but this was really helpful. And thank you for all the great work you're doing.
Thank you. Stay safe.